Christmas Eve, the most wonderful time of the year. And I'll tell you what, listeners, Dangerous Dan is going to tell you a secret. I love Christmas. There, I said it. And I don't care who knows it, because I love tinsel, I love Rudolph, I love cranberries, I love baby Jesus, before he went all hippie with the sandals and the long hair.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Craptaculus, where we say a bad film is just as hard to make as a good one, just a lot easier to make fun of. This is Dave, and with me are my uncrappy co-hosts,
Stephanie,
John,
and new to the show,
Craig.
Welcome to Cinema Craptaculus.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Tell us a little something about yourself. Okay, that's enough.
Okay.
'Tis the season to jingle your jangle with twisted tales of merry morality. It's the holidays, tales from the crypt style in Christmas Horror Story. This flick, which takes place in a small town on Christmas Eve, piles 4 tangled tales of holiday terror onto the Yule log fire.
Let's just take a moment to admire how John read that, because that was fantastic.
that was great.
Now, this movie had, like John said, 4 different stories kind of intermingled. They're kind of like Twilight Zone type stories, Tales from the Crypt, and
Tales from the Dark Side.
Tales from the Dark Side. Yeah.
Tales from Canada.
Well, I was going to say there was a really big accent moment there. I was like, oh, Canada. We can get to that later.
Did it make you sing? Oh, Canada.
Yes.
I could tell from the trailer.
Yeah,
I was like,
sent out the trailer, and Stephanie was like, I think this is Canadian.
seemed Canadian to me. And I was right.
Well, it had like 4 feet of snow everywhere and people were wealthy. So that tipped me off.
And universal health care.
Yes. Okay, so this is 4 stories all tied together by a William Shatner thread. He plays like a DJ at a radio place, because that's where DJs are.
Except like it's like a regular radio,
Yeah,
and not like a DJ like at Ibiza. Although that would have made things a lot more interesting.
No, he's at a radio station circa 1982, because it's all record albums and stuff. And so he has these little interludes in between the stories. We're going to break up the stories into like 4 segments. And the first one I called Basement Baby. 3 plucky young reporters break into a local high school on Christmas Eve, the 1-year anniversary of the murder of 2 students.
Just 2.
Yes. But wasn't it 2 students? I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It was 2.
This is the one I just told you guys. This was the one I understood the least of all the stories. And I don't know why. I think because it was just a little bit high school for me.
And it does have this sort of Blair Witch quality, like they always do with found footage, where they're going to film like Mythbusters, and they go down to this school on a closed day, and then they kind of get locked in. But I think we get an anniversary mention of the crime itself.
Yes.
It's been 1 year since the tragedy.
Yeah, everything takes place on Christmas Eve, and they're down there on Christmas Eve. I think it was just like a school project or something. They weren't like real reporters, right? I was sort of confused as to what they were doing down there at first.
Were they students from the school?
I think they had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, they were. I got the feeling that they were doing a report for the school paper, school YouTube.
The school.
The school YouTube.
I don't know how you modern kids do news.
Felt very like Ghost Hunters to me. Like I was just like watching one of those Ghost Hunters show. That's what it felt like for me.
Yeah, they didn't have very many leads other than like people were murdered and here's the newspaper report.
Christmas, usually a time of joy and celebration, but for St. Joseph's Academy, a time of mourning. Exactly 1 year ago, last Christmas Eve, the school was the scene of an unimaginable crime when 2 of its students, Connor and Jenna, seen here, were found, murdered in cold blood.
My favorite. So this basement was a nunnery or something. It was like crazy house.
It was a Catholic school. For private school, and I think it was. Maybe it had been a girls' school.
Ooh, sexy.
It must have been.
No, I believe they said that the basement had been a converted convent. For nuns, or like back in the like 1800s, and then it became a Catholic school later on.
And so this one girl named Mary, I think, back in the 1800s or early 1900s, was pregnant, and she aborted the baby herself somehow, and now she haunted the basement, as Christmas ghosts are wont to do.
Well, and do we get background on the victims from the previous year's crime? Were they were not reporters? Were they just students looking to have sex in a basement?
Yes.
In a very sexy basement.
That's a good place to take a girlfriend, is a deserted old semi-haunted convent.
Well, yeah, and your school's basement.
Yeah, that's romantic.
Let's remember that school was happening upstairs the whole year, even though 2 students were murdered there Last Christmas Eve.
Yeah. I mean, because it was in the basement. I mean, nobody was
true.
teaching classes down there.
Well, and we do, not to intertwine some of the other stories, but we are introduced to characters from other stories. For instance, the police officer who was on scene, I believe, and discovered the bodies the year before. He is part of one of the later stories.
Right. And the girlfriend of the cameraman was also part of one of the later stories as well.
She gives him the keys.
It's really intertwined. After she gets her ass grabbed, she gives him the keys.
So it's hard for me to discuss in a linear way. We're focusing on this one first story, but it plays throughout the movie because they intertwine.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
This was the densest of the stories.
That's maybe why I didn't get it.
It was the only one that had a story, really.
It was that this ghost Mary wanted her child to be born. So she was almost like a succubus. What's succubus?
A succubus is very different from a succubus. Succubus is what most people rode to school in the 1970s.
It's what these kids were riding.
Right.
Succubus.
Was she from the 1800s?
She seemed more like from the 1960s.
She seemed like she was from the Ring,
Ghost?
and she was
the
ripped
Ghost.
off from the 90s
Yes.
or the
2004.
And the lead girl, the reporter girl, looked like, okay, let's see a bunch of girls that look like Emma Stone.
Oh, see, I thought she was a poor man's Amanda Seyfried.
Oh.
That's when
I
I
could
saw
see
her.
that.
The Canadian Amanda
Yeah.
Seyfried.
So you had her, her name was Molly, and then Dylan, the cameraman, and Ben, the audio guy, who was clearly in love with her.
Yeah.
I also want to point out that her name the actress's name is Zoe de Grande Maison. Zoe Big House.
Okay, check out the prepared new guy. He actually paid attention,
Hey.
as
You're
opposed to
putting
those
us
of
to
us who were
shame.
like doing dishes in the other room, or Stephanie does, wanders in and out of it, watching the television.
I go get the mail.
Right.
I had to have names, otherwise I was not going to be able to talk about them. I wanted to personalize it.
We're usually that dude. You know the chick.
Right.
The blonde guy.
So I think of all the four, this one tried to be really following a ghostly tale of dread that builds and builds to a point of gory catharsis. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I was a little bored. I'll just be real with you guys. I thought that it was going to make more sense than it did, and that they were going to be stuck with like a ghost. But most of the time, they're just sitting around.
Well, they get locked in.
Yeah.
And there was a principal was there up top, and they had a choice of either revealing that they were trespassing or be locked in over the holidays and freeze to death. And they chose, I think they ended up pounding on the door anyway.
Yeah, they were pounding on the door. They were trying to get out, but none of the keys worked. And
They decided not to take anything heavy to break the lock because then the movie wouldn't happen.
So throughout the movie, we start getting little reveals of haunted happenings. And people, of course, in typical horror fashion, hey, I'm going to go check this area out. I'm going to go down this passage by myself.
I'm going to go into the dark corner by myself.
I have to say, I thought it was like at least well done. Like it was, some of the scares were pretty good down there. I thought it felt really creepy. Some of the misdirects, like when the one dude goes to the bathroom and you expect that when he's washing his hands and looks up into the mirror that there's going to be something behind him in the mirror. They cut back to the other room and it's actually behind the other guy and the girl gets freaked out. I don't know. I thought some of the scares were actually like, oh, I didn't actually see that coming. How is that possible? This is terrible.
Yeah, now
This
I
is
gotta
a Canadian film.
I gotta
How
watch
could
this
the
again.
Canadians fool me? And the fact that they decided to spend the night in the creepiest room possible with the
Mannequins.
nativity scene from last year that they weren't allowed to put up, with the scariest looking like Joseph and Mary and three wise men I have ever seen. They were so, I don't know.
They were like they were like female mannequins, all
like,
of them.
Like a child had painted beards on or something. They were, let's spend the night in this room because this place isn't scary
Well, they really
enough.
didn't have a lot of choice because I think it was the only room where light was shining through a semi-visible window, right? I mean, otherwise
Blood
they were
wasn't written on the walls in Bible passages.
Oh, that's true. The other room the other truth the window was in was the murder room.
So slowly, in typical ghost fashion, there's possessions and people losing it, and it results in sex.
Of course, yeah. The
Naturally.
girl, the Amanda Seyfried lookalike,
Emma Stone.
gets possessed. I was going to say gets obsessed, as ghosts are wont to do.
And she becomes a succubus.
Yeah,
She tries to suck somebody's bus. Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Craig.
Well,
Well,
she tries to.
audition. We'll get back to you.
Yes, she tries to suck off. No, that's a terrible way to say that.
She tries to seduce the camera guy.
There's no way he turns her down.
Yes.
Oh,
I have a girlfriend. It's not going to happen. That's not that.
Yeah.
There's There's no way that dude. I know that dude.
People are so-
There's no way he turns down.
People are so selfless and committed in high school.
Yeah.
She was, honestly, though, she was looking real creepy. She wasn't talking to him. She was just pointing basically at her crotch. And he was like, look, this isn't going to work.
His crotch is like a foreigner describing sex.
Basically, she
I don't know.
was
She
doing
got the
everything
belt off.
but doing a loop in one hand and sticking her index finger and saying, let's do this.
Still not buying that he turns her down.
Well,
But maybe that says more about
the
me.
prize for turning her down was not great because she kills him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So he turns her down and she kills him, and then she gets the guy who's in love with her to sit there while she rides him.
Yes, and when she's done,
That was so uncomfortable for me to watch.
It was
that.
real uncomfortable.
I didn't like it.
It felt like you guys look a little too young.
Yeah,
Well, that
is at least a college position. You should be like missionary, if anything, at that age.
And he lasted way too long. Let's face it.
Right? I thought
It was
that.
pretty cold in there, though.
Timing,
Right. Look, Craig's right. The cold does sort of dampen.
Yeah,
Dampen.
the passion, dampen.
the cold seems to moisten the passion.
But she was very much like that what's the horror film Species? Like,
Yes.
I'm impregnated.
Yes.
I can tell. We're done.
Well, the ghost of Mary comes back and like points at her stomach or something, and she's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
"Oh,
yeah. After
Because
she
she didn't
kills
get
the
it.
dude, she touches her stomach.
How does she kill him again?
like stake through the brain."
No, he just gets pinned to the wall by some sort of telekinesis power.
Oh, like
There's
the
no
first-
actual.
Like the first victim from
yeah,
last
but the first
year.
victim from the previous year, I think there was actual stakes. This one was just
He was crucified.
He was crucified,
Right,
but
like
there was
Jesus.
no. Yeah.
Like Jeebus.
Also, let's not forget that the Mary that came back was holding a dead baby
That's right.
that was
That's right.
dripping with blood.
Yeah.
This is just see. This is why I didn't like this story because there was a lot of
there's-
ickiness in it, like a lot.
And not a lot of Christmas joy.
No.
I mean, the weirdest
The candy
part
canes.
when the teen was it the non Amanda Seyfried? I don't know what her name is, but like
Molly.
She's Molly when she comes to after she's like had sex with the audio guy. She's like, "What did you do to me?" And I'm like, "Oh no, this is a bad situation."
Did you see that guy's heart just sink? What did you? He's like, "Oh no."
I'm going to jail, aren't I?
Yeah, so basically the storyline concludes where the dead woman has been fulfilled in the afterlife because she has finally successfully gotten a surrogate in the real world to carry the baby that I don't know if she aborted or if those nuns, aborted. So the injustice in the past has now been righted.
But it's not even her baby.
But I love how she just leaves and the door just magically unlocked.
the
and
door
there's
just
two
opens.
dead classmates behind her, but she just exits. And end story.
Yeah.
Well, then she runs into the pharmacy to get the Plan B pill because she's got a ghost baby in her womb.
That was the post-credit sequence.
Yeah.
Hey, Craptaculars, we'll be right back. And now, back to the show.
So the next one, it was kind of interesting. We had a little bit of a debate here, but it's about a family that trespasses on a farm to get the perfect Christmas tree, but they end up getting a lot more than they asked for this holiday season.
And to connect it to the story we just discussed, the father in the family is a police officer who was on scene in that original crime a year earlier. So that's how they're kind of connecting it to the news story.
Yeah, and he has what is that called? Like
PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD, and he's trying to like recover from the shock of discovering these two dead bodies in the school basement
Last Christmas.
And then he has a son and a wife. The son seems to be special now, or is that
I think he's just young.
just young?
And then he becomes special.
Yes.
Yeah, so they go to the like a property. You know, it's in Canada, so everybody's got 1,000 Christmas trees on their
It's
property.
socialized.
They go to like they drive to the middle of nowhere, then specifically trespass on some farmer's land.
No, the police officer dad's like, no, this will be great, baby. And
Yeah.
the wife's like,
No,
no,
this is
let's
illegal.
just buy a tree. And he's like, there's not going to be a better tree than apparently on this property.
And
right
this is
here.
a real
Stolen.
indictment of police salaries in Canada. If they can't afford a tree, he's got to go out steal one.
There's plenty of forest that does not have restricted area signs that you could find a tree in Canada. I'm pretty sure.
So they're out there, and in true Stranger Things ripoff, the boy disappears.
Yes.
Yeah, for half a second.
For half a
Can't find him.
second.
They're screaming like, "Where is he? Will?"
It is
pops
Will,
out of the
just
tree
like
from-
Stranger Things. It's
Yeah.
Will.
Oh dear.
Exactly. Right.
Someone's
Yes.
getting served this Christmas.
What are plagiarism laws in Canada like?
Well, I mean, this came out in what, 2015?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I think Stranger Things. We've been watching Netflix and
true.
doing a little lift.
Spent a little time up in the Great White North.
Yeah.
So they get their tree and their boy, who seems a little more off than normal.
Yeah.
You're
quiet.
you're skipping over the fact that the tree looked like a huge vagina that the boy disappeared into.
He wanders into the
How could the vagina tree? I just could not
Also taken from Stranger Things.
yes, true.
Since you're kind of taking over a spot that was vacant, can you say, just so for me, the vagetree? The vagetree?
Vagetree?
There we go.
Oh, traditions.
I have actually a question about the vagina tree or the sequence that was in the vagina tree. When the dad goes in there and is looking in there and the hand reaches out and grabs him before the kid comes out, did it not look like a white hand?
Yeah, it did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I think that was because it was supposed to be that thing.
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't just like they had a stand-in instead of the kid grabbing his arm. It was like,
Because the
why
family-
did that white guy just grab the dad and then the kid came out?
The family is black, by the way. We didn't say that.
Yeah.
So that's why it seems strange that whose hand is that? Yeah. So as I indicated, that this is not their son that they're pulling out of this tree. It's a thing.
And later on in the story, he's in bed looking out the window, and we see his reflection, and it looks like
Like an alien.
like an alien, like a gray almost.
Yeah. What is that thing that like a Voldemort? like a mini
Like a
Voldemort.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Gray deformed face.
But then things just get really uncomfortable for me because he's acting a little off and mom goes to bed. Or am I skipping ahead?
Before we get to bed, he's eating dinner, and it's Christmas Eve dinner, and for some reason they have spaghetti for Christmas Eve dinner.
They're Canadian.
It's just him. It's just him eating, and no one else is eating.
And he's shoveling this.
Yeah, it's like he hasn't eaten in eons.
Yes.
He also hasn't said a word since they got him back.
Right.
Right. It's super
And Dad is,
creepy.
kind of being a little impatient.
Because
Yeah,
Dad
he's
just
like,
got
"Slow
better.
down."
He's trying to get better for Christmas, and he doesn't need this.
I worked really hard to steal this tree for you guys. Yeah, so he gets in an argument with the kid and said he send him to his room.
Well, before he sends him to the room, the kid takes a fork and stabs his dad.
Oh, that's a
in
small
the hand.
detail I forgot. Yeah, fork into the hand. That ruins dinner.
And then continues to eat with the fork that he stabbed his dad with, which I thought was
that's-
kind of gross.
Yeah, that's unsanitary.
Yeah, but this
You don't know
thing
where
doesn't.
your dad-
And you know, and it
Blood's
seemed
been.
like a minor injury later on, but I'm sorry, a fork to the hand?
I mean, that was a serious fork.
That was a
wasn't like-
through the hand. fork.
Yeah, that might be an ER trip, but he's a tough cop. Nope. Go get a Band-Aid.
That universal health care. Not so
Got
universal.
it patched up.
Well, I think his hand has a rough go in this storyline.
Oh yeah, what was that all about? Okay, so moving ahead, after the kid stabs the dad in the hand, the mom's like, "Go to your room."
Yeah.
The kid goes to his room, and everybody goes to bed, and then
Dad sleeps on the couch drinking.
Well, Dad tries to have some adult time with the mom, and the mom's like, "No." After the mom says, "I think something's wrong with our son," the dad says, "Let's have sex." He says, "Not now."
No, it's nice to know that a fork in the hand isn't a mood killer.
I think that this dad was very focused on having the perfect Christmas ever, and if that means getting a little action, then that's what it's going to have to do. Because
He even said almost, "It's Christmas though."
And I want the Yule in my log. I don't think that's quite the sex joke I was aiming for, but it's close enough.
But it resembles one, and that's what counts.
So then everybody's asleep, and this is where things just get uncomfortable.
Yes.
So uncomfortable.
Because the mom takes a shower first,
Yeah.
and then she turns around and the kid's watching her, and then they go to bed. And then the kid walks into the bedroom.
And we don't know.
we never see the kid
We just
walk
see
into the
mom
bedroom.
asleep, and we see rustling sheets, and her expression changes.
Yes. There's
I thought
something
we
under
saw
the
a
sheets.
hand.
We see
We
a
do.
hand come up from
at the climax,
at the end.
Nice choice of words, Steph.
Yeah, the mom is having a good time while she's sleeping, and then the little boy's hand reaches out from under the cover, and it's really gross.
it caresses her collarbone and whatnot.
I thought it was a little further
And
south of
giblets.
the collar.
Well, it started south and then came up.
Towards
We're all uncomfortable discussing
Yeah, I
it.
don't even.
It was. I didn't even understand how they filmed it. I was sitting there going, "Do they get a little person to be the hand stand-in?"
maybe.
Crew guy who's of diminutive stature.
Donald Trump,
It was the right skin color, though. So
black hand.
So she's like, get out.
Well,
She wakes up and she goes and checks, and he's in bed sleeping.
Oh, that was me. I think it was me yelling at the television. Get out! Disgusting. Who thought of this shit?
But when she checks in, that's when you see the reflection, and you're like, that reflection is not the reflection of the little boy.
Yeah, it's the mini Voldemort face.
Yeah, it's the mini. Yeah.
Mini Voldemort comes back, and he is hungry and horny.
And then, so she gets a phone call, and it's the farmer dude who's
Trespassing.
Yeah, whose land they were trespassing on, and he's like, "Son's not your son, is it?" And she's like, "Of course." She's going crazy with like, who are you?
Yeah.
What are you saying? And he's like, "Son's not your son. Your son's lost. You got to bring that thing back."
And of course, she doesn't believe a word he's saying.
No.
Because, I mean, it's
And
a
this
crazy guy calling the house on Christmas.
A random crazy guy.
How did he get that number?
He got their license plate. Apparently knows someone in the Canadian cop department. Called them up and said, "Hey, can you run a thing on this plate?"
number.
And they said, "Hey, this is a fellow cop. Let me give you that number."
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Canada, they're really nice.
Yeah.
I think he was a former Mountie.
Yeah.
But he tells her that this is a changeling.
Yeah, it's complete exposition because it's almost like they knew when they're filming, the audience is so lost now. We just need to have a guy just on the phone explain it to
super
everybody
grossed
what's
out,
going
too.
on.
Yeah.
They're really disturbed. We need to reroute this.
We have to let them know that it's not really the son.
So he tells her, okay, this is, you got to come, you got to get this thing. And she's like, no. And I forget, like, did he call her back? Or
Well,
no,
after
That's right.
then the changeling, after the dad flips out because the little boy apparently opened all the presents, the little boy or changeling or whatever we're calling him murders the father.
Well, he cuts his hand off.
Which I
first.
don't understand why.
And strangles him with something, no?
A
Because he's a
belt?
Star Wars fan.
Yeah, the belt.
Because he tried to spank him with the belt earlier.
There was definitely some abuse, something going on there.
Again, just top to
Also
bottom,
uncomfortable.
just uncomfortable storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are we supposed to feel sorry for this cop or not? Like,
Right.
I mean, he got traumatized from the Christmas killing, and now he's an abusive dad.
He went from like nice dad to pulling the belt off abuse fairly
Fast.
quickly.
So the mom is in like typical horror film, Dee Wallace from the 80s. No one's going to get that reference. But,
I get it.
something's wrong. I've got to go take my son back to the place where
It all began.
And
Vagina tree.
then, so Vagina Tree location has these creatures that just appear, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
well,
just
I mean,
sort of
they're-
chilling.
They
in the
all
woods.
hang out on this property for some reason. This guy who the farmer was tasked with watching them. He's like their dad,
But
And he
they don't
doesn't
like taking
elaborate.
orders from him, clearly.
but they listen to him.
He has
But-
some sort of power over them.
It's never explained.
Well, he has the boy, and does he try
No,
to
he
kill
doesn't.
him?
No.
The mother brings the changeling back
In a duffel bag.
in a duffel bag
After she captures him. Yeah.
And the farmer's like, "Oh, good thing you brought him back. I don't know where your boy is, but
Good luck with that. Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Then she kills the dude with a
yeah. She
shoots him.
accidentally shoots him.
I don't know if it was an accident. I don't think that'll hold up.
She
in
was
court.
freaked out. She shoots him,
Yeah,
and then the
so
boy.
all of a sudden, one of the trolls is like, "Cool,
Yeah, like
we're free."
I thank you so much for
Here's your
shooting him.
child.
This was all a ruse to help you give us our Christmas gift, which is this
Yeah.
guy's death.
Crisscross.
I think that's the reason she got her boy back was because she killed their master. So
Yeah.
they gave her the boy back.
So it did have a happy end.
Yeah,
It
that
did.
that one had a happy ending because let's face it, the dad was not that great to begin with, so they're better off.
Although to continue John's thread of the first story, after the story ends, she's just going away with the boy, presumably back to the apartment they were living in, where the dad is still there without his
corpse.
hand and the corpse of his dad. She's going to be on trial for murder
Absolutely.
because how do you explain my son
Child.
turned into a changeling and killed this kid?
I think it's pretty
Yeah,
simple.
I don't know where the aftermath goes
Do you
on
think
that
that
one
the
either.
changeling would have found them because he could find their address and phone number and then be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, sorry, I will testify on your behalf that this was a self-defense killing."
By the way, what happened to the changeling? Did he just go into the tree and then the
Yeah,
little
he just
kid
went
came
into
back?
a tree. Yeah.
They had spaghetti dinner.
Yeah, he was like, "Thanks for the spaghetti. It was delicious."
Okay, so much Freud Oedipal stuff going on. The kid going into the vagina tree, and then later on when he's young Voldemort, feeling up his mom in the bed, and then goes back into the vagina, comes back as himself. Way too much.
Well, then let's move on to the next one. What's the next story? What's
Krampus.
Krampusnacht.
Okay, so Krampus. This is in my notes. I just put a shitty family. So a shitty family
Accurate.
finds out the true meaning of Christmas. Krampus style. So basically, this family that is, pretty upper class, mom, dad, like traditional nuclear family, mother, father, daughter, son. What are they called in the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
The Griswolds?
Yeah, they were like the asshole Griswolds.
The Asswolds.
The Asswolds.
But with a lot more money.
A lot more money.
And you want to kill them within the first 20 seconds of meeting them.
The teenage daughter is introduced at the beginning. She's the friend of the three people in the
high school.
That storyline.
Right? Yeah, she gave them the keys. Somehow they have the keys to the school. So the dad is like taking them to an old aunt's house, and she's like super rich, and you can tell that he just wants to siphon off some money from her. And the kids are like little snots. The daughter steals a lighter from the aunt, and the aunt's like, traditional waspy,
crotchety,
old, lots of money.
She's like German too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So technically not a wasp.
I guess so.
She's a wajop.
and the son is like playing with this little Krampus ornament, and the what do you call that? The
groundskeeper.
Groundskeeper.
Yeah.
Groundskeeper
Willie. Yeah. That's what I kept calling him.
Groundskeeper Willie.
He comes in and he's like, "Don't play with that. That is a old artifact." And the kid goes, "Oops," and purposefully knocks it off.
I was done with that kid at that point.
I was so done.
I was so happy to see them die.
Yeah, Krampus, go to town.
We're done.
And we're done.
Greg just spoiled.
Yeah. Well, they didn't all die.
So they started. Isn't at that point that they're like they ask about it or something, and the grandma's like, or the aunt, sorry, she's like, "Oh, it's Krampus, and he comes every Christmas."
And the boy knows the tale. And he's like, yeah, I know, but he comes and punishes the bad kids. Meh.
This is Krampus, right?
What's a Krampus?
He's like an anti-Santa Claus, a demon who punishes the naughty. He whips them, chains them up, throws them in a sack, stuff like that.
On Krampusnacht, the demon hunts the wicked from sunset to sunrise.
That's fun.
He comes for little boys who touch things they shouldn't.
Oops.
Immediately marks
I
himself.
say, so my wife is German, and her mother is from Austria. Like, her mother moved here, grew up in Austria until she was about 10. And I learned the story of Krampus from them. And every Christmas Eve, one of their uncles would come over dressed as Krampus in Austria, and with a sack, because Krampus puts the kids in a sack, and chase the grandmother around the house, and with a switch, and scare the crap out of all of the kids. Like, this is a real thing that in Germany and Austria they do as a tradition, or at least back in the
only in Germany would there be a tradition where a man chases a woman with a switch, and it's a holiday tradition.
Did he have full prosthetic makeup and horns, and was it?
I don't know about that.
Or is it like a Easter bunny costume?
Like a rental, something you get at Party City.
I'm not sure about the costuming. I just know that it happened every Christmas Eve, and it actually partially scarred my mother-in-law.
More importantly, why aren't you carrying on that tradition?
Today.
That's an excellent question.
I think we'd be better people for it.
So wait a minute, is The Shining really just Krampus? The dad freaks out, but he's really just turning into Krampus?
What?
Sorry. I was thinking of Jack Nicholson going crazy and trying to kill his family. Maybe he's just Krampus and he's trying to scare
he's just acting
them with
it
an
out.
axe.
He's trying to make Danny a good boy.
It wasn't Christmas.
It was snowy.
It was winter.
After we're seeing how snotty these everybody is,
the mom is bad.
This is the storyline of the four that I think we didn't see as much of until the end, right?
Yeah. The aunt kicks them out. It's like, you know what? I'm not feeling the hosting of people, so get out.
Yeah. It's 4 feet of snow all around. She's like, go find a hotel somewhere.
Yeah. So the family gets in the car and they're driving along and they're all yelling at each other because they're all shits. You find out that the dad doesn't have any money. He's been just faking loans and stuff to keep everything going.
I was distracted because he looked like Canadian Will Ferrell.
Did he really?
Is Will Ferrell not Canadian? I guess not.
One of the few who isn't.
Wait, so they're driving away from the aunt's house.
Yeah, and they almost hit this abominable snowman.
It was.
I'm pretty sure it was Krampus.
Yeah, it was a
Krampus.
CGI rendering of Krampus.
And the car like goes over the edge. No, it just goes
Into like a snowbank.
into a snowbank, and the wheels can't spin.
Oh yeah, and they're stuck.
And they're stuck, and so they're like, "Hey, let's go wander around in the woods because it takes a half hour off the walk." And then that's when the dad gets grabbed by a chain and dragged away from them, and they're all like freaking out.
I immediately thought The Hollow.
Oh yeah, the Hollow.
Yes, the Hollow.
Hollow.
That was a shitty film that you missed, Craig, but you're welcome to watch it.
I think I listened to that episode.
It was about Halloween.
Yes.
Also up in the Northwest area. So they're kind of all disbanded in the wilderness. Now we're like, oh, cool, they're going to get picked off.
Yes.
One by one.
Well, the son gets picked off very closely after the father does.
Good.
Like within seconds. And I have to say, I thought that stunt was actually really kind of well done when the like chain comes out and like whips him. I was like pretty impressed by the cinematography on that.
Well, you know how broken those boys' ankles were by the end of the day?
So that little shit gets it. And the dad's pretty maimed. And then they find some refuge in a church that's really nearby, right?
Yeah, for some reason, a church wards off Krampus a little bit.
Or so they think.
Or so they think.
Well, we have a resident expert here, Craig. In case I'm besieged by Krampus or I'm playing Krampus, I need to know these rules.
I don't believe the Krampus has ties to religion as far as I know. I think it's an old folklore, so I'm not sure if the church would have any
Yeah,
bearing
he's like the
on
opposite of Santa Claus. He's not the opposite of Jesus. Like it's more like. Yeah, I don't think religion
He's
plays.
more like the Joker, not Lex Luthor.
that. So while they're all huddled in the church, we find out that the dad was lying about whatever business he runs. Who gives a crap? But he was lying and doesn't have any money.
I think it was.
The daughter confesses to being a kleptomaniac.
But honest, I'm not as bad as those other kids with the sex and the drugs and the cutting
And then somehow it's revealed that their son was essentially a serial killer in training because he would kill the pets. He would kill the pets that they used to have.
So the real person,
which is such a weird tangent.
It is not at all equal to the things that they were talking about, like with embezzlement or whatever it was. It's like, no, this kid actually was murdering things.
The daughter's like, oh, come on, mom. Come on, mom. Duncan used to kill our pets.
And the mom was
a matter of fact way.
Refused to see that. She would just be like, oh, no, that can't be. He's a perfect child. And so a giant tongue, they're hiding out.
The dad dies, right?
Yeah, the dad dies. Wait,
can we just reflect on the beauty of that segue?
So a giant tongue.
Well, they're hiding in the confessional, the mom and the daughter, and they're like, okay, we'll be okay here. But then they're like, something's on my leg, and this tongue, I don't know what it is. It's like a tentacle, a tonguicle.
Yeah, what did Krampus
It was Krampus's tongue. He has like a serpent-like tongue that apparently can extend
under things,
under things and over
into
things and grab things. It's prehensile.
So I think that's when the mother gets it, and the daughter goes running back to the aunt's house.
The mother like sacrifices herself for the daughter. She says, "Run!" and she stands there and gets gored by Krampus, which I did not see coming from that mom because that mom was a terrible person.
But she wasn't a murderer and she wasn't a thief, so I think it balanced out, right?
Yeah.
And so once the girl gets to the aunt's house, then they kind of explain a little more about the Krampus thing, and the aunt's like, if you fill your soul with hatred, Krampus will come and take over.
So it's like there's a little Krampus in everyone.
Yep.
Like, is that the moral of the story?
You want to see my Krampus?
Yeah. So basically, we're all Hulks when we're assholes, and we turn into the Krampus Hulk.
Yeah. Krampus can come and affect you.
Mr. McGee, don't make me a prick. You won't like me when I'm a prick.
So what, of course, happens after the grandma reveals this? The daughter is angry. Like, you knew that the groundskeeper?
Selfish bitch.
Yeah, the groundskeeper was angry at them, so he allowed Krampus to possess him.
Yeah, we totally blew over that part. They set him on fire.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, she takes care of Krampus.
Yeah,
we forgot the girl. First, she stabs him with like a long spear or piece of wood or some remnant that was in the yard, and then she gasses him. She pours gasoline on him.
Kleptomania with the lighter came in handy. So
and there was
really
a Die Hard. There was sort of a Die Hard reference too.
Yeah, because she says,
yippee, yippee Krampus, motherfucker.
beat me to it.
No, she didn't say that.
She says, "Merry Christmas, motherfucker," and then throws the lamp and throws the lighter onto the gasoline. And
I like our version better.
yeah. Yippee Krampus.
Yippee Krampus.
So
As he
Krampus
melts.
burns up, and it reveals that it's the groundskeeper Willie.
So the daughter's upset that
Yeah,
this was
she's
the
like-
thing. Like, you knew that the groundskeeper was angry at us. You let him go out there. You sent us out into the wilderness knowing that he was Krampus now and he was going to kill us. And then she's getting angry and angry as she tells this to the aunt. And then guess what happens?
Horns come out of that little teenage head.
She becomes Krampus.
Which is really horrible. So the story ends with an elderly woman being horribly murdered.
By her daughter or by her
or
whatever.
grandniece.
Again, we're just setting up some very interesting crime scenes for law enforcement to show up at. These Mounties will walk
for Boxing Day.
Yeah. This sleepy town. So now I think that takes us to Mauled Santa.
Mauled Santa.
When the North Pole elves go evil, only Santa can save them all. And when we say evil, we say when they turn into zombie elves. And
zombies are vampires.
Succubus elves?
I think zombies, because Santa was killing them by beheading them or killing their brain.
Elves becoming the walking dead? No, it does not make any sense. Unless he is behind it.
The movie's bookended because it starts out with Santa, and he's feeding reindeer at the North Pole in his stables, and we think it's great. And then he turns around and he's got this gash on his head, and we know something's off, and he's got this big pole/spear, which has got blood on it. And then, this gate opens up. So that's how the movie starts. And then throughout the various stories, we revisit it, his battle with the elves.
Yeah, the battle slowly escalates. I mean, it starts off as like a busy day at the North Pole. My favorite part was they're in this giant warehouse and they're trying to make it look really busy. And there's like this elf on a what is it, Lena, one of those, like a cherry picker or something. And he's like, move it, get out of the way, and there's no one around him. And they're just like rushing around. It's like, how do we make 5 people make this warehouse look like a crowd?
Pretty good production value for the Santa stuff. And he had a real interesting sort of Nordic maybe Father Christmas, it's Canada look about him that I think is, for Americans, I thought was unique. And the actor had like this long mane of hair and
like a braid in it. It was
it was
really
you guys
cool.
turned on by this? You seem a little turned
The
on.
styling was unique for a Santa, I will say.
It was kind of like Dumbledore Santa.
Yeah, it was a grittier Santa.
More realistic.
Christopher Nolan Santa.
Christopher Nolan's Santa. Santa Begins.
I'm Santa Claus.
Santa origin story. I like it.
So his battle escalates, as does the level of gore.
Yes. It was 1,000 ways to kill an elf.
This was the least complicated of the stories, though.
Right.
It's basically Shiny, the elf, turns into
a zombie somehow.
He's sick.
He doesn't want a cookie, so we know something's wrong. He mumbles something profane about Mrs. Claus. Drives an axe into his own hand, and blood spurts on all the other elves, and thus the outbreak begins.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Dead?
No.
But elves...
Can't die. Santa, elves can't die, right?
No, they cannot.
You know what I really hated about this part? The fact that you couldn't hear what any of the profane insults actually were. Like, the zombie elves kept muttering like curses and things towards Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, but they weren't clear enough. Like, I feel like that was a missed opportunity for a lot of humor. Like, profane.
Fat motherfucker, just think you're better than us. When we're going to be standing over your grave, fat boy, and we're going to start selling drugs.
But it was all sort of mumbled, and it wasn't clear enough. Like, he sort of called her a slut, but not really. I don't know. I just really, I wanted those to be clearer.
So the elves are going insane at this point, and they are.
Yeah, they're just like little zombies.
Yeah,
it's
like
they're
from
very,
28 days.
They're very verbal.
Oh yeah,
like they talk a lot.
They're like ghoulies or some 80s, Gremlins type,
hobgoblins.
Yeah. My favorite part is Santa gets into an elevator with a bunch of zombie elves in there, and you just hear the elevator music. It's some Christmas song like Santa Claus is coming to town, and then it cuts to the bottom floor, and the door opens, and it's just dead elves
and blood.
In blood, in a very tired Santa Claus with elevator music still going.
Well, I think that elevator music was a bit of a hint because we're getting again to the layered storyline, which I thought made the film actually very clever and turns it into this sort of Fight Club moment.
Yes.
Right? And I think that elevator music was actually a clue to what really was going on. And do we want to talk about because it links back to William Shatner's presence in this film.
And Santa's final battle though, when we see the scene from the beginning of the movie when he's feeding the reindeer.
After he's killed all the elves.
The door opens and it's Krampus. And there's this like
Santa knew he was coming.
Yes.
So he's like, it's you. I knew it was you.
And they had this big battle.
The final showdown. Yeah. And it's the Krampus that we saw in the previous story.
This is the question I had. So are we to believe that this Krampus that Santa is fighting is the girl that turned into the Krampus? Or is it the Krampus that the girl eventually killed? Or is it some other Krampus entirely because Krampus can invade? We all have a little Krampus in us.
Well, I think it's the spirit because this is almost happening on a different plane.
Yes, yes.
So this is like Uber Krampus. This is the source Krampus that all other Krampuses
This is Krampus Zero.
What is the plural of Krampus? Krampi?
Krampi.
All other Krampi are sourced by this Krampus who's at the North Pole fighting Santa Claus. Okay, I buy that.
So this a big slow-mo battle that we saw in the trailer, actually, where he's got his big staff and Krampus is he using his prehensile tongue or does he have a weapon?
He's got his hook on the end of his chain.
Yes.
And it becomes this really big, like martial arts, amazing.
Yeah. Enter stuntman for elderly man. Because that Santa, as good as he was not going to be doing backflips.
No. So, but to John's point, this is where the big reveal happens, where you realize what William Shatner's role has been. Because William Shatner, throughout the film, we come to him every once in a while. He's getting drunker and drunker, and in one moment
he's drinking the whole time.
Well, did you say that he's in a booth at a radio station? He's the DJ, who's kind of got the late night spot, and it's decorated. So he really wants everybody to get in the holiday spirit because people are depressed first and foremost because of previous year's tragedy that hung over the town, and then bad things are happening that night.
Yeah, there's something going on at the mall, and he's like, just stay away from the mall. We don't know how many hostages there are. They're sending the cops
I think it was more like, just stay away from the mall. There's things going on, and we just don't know what the truth is. No, and I have to say, William Shatner, he is a marvel because he's in his mid-80s.
Yeah.
And he still looks the same as he did, like in Star Trek V. So he's narrating this happening that's going on, and we I was tuning it out, to be honest. I just thought it was just rambling. Let's just have Shatner speak.
He's just talking this whole time.
He's sort of narrating police action.
Police action. And so what do we find out is during the final battle between Santa and Krampus is like,
Norman, stop! Please don't kill me. Norman? Who's Norman? What the fuck is wrong with you, Norman?
He's like, Norman, please stop. And Santa's like, Norman? And then we see that it's a mall Santa. And it's this guy, Norman, dressed up like Santa. And he's killed all the
elves in the
elves in this mall Santa and all the people. He's just went on a
it was
rampage.
Also it's worth noting that this guy works at the radio station with William Shatner, and at the beginning he's all angry, like William Shatner's like, happy holidays, Merry Christmas everyone, and he writes this note that's like, fuck Christmas, and slams it on the window so that William Shatner can see it. So he's supposed to be going off to this food drive at the mall, and that's the last you hear of him until we reveal that he's Santa Claus.
So he's looking around at the carnage.
I prefer Murder Claus.
The carnage of the North Pole is now mirrored in what is reality.
Yes.
All of these innocent people that he's slaughtered, and the police are descending upon him.
Canadian police.
Mounties.
And they open the doors just in the same way that the doors opened in that fantasy, like the North Pole Santa Claus fantasy.
When Krampus entered, Krampus was the cops.
So he refuses.
Krampus was the crime they gave. What? Oh,
what?
He had something.
I had something. It's like
it's gone.
Mid-90s rap reference.
Oh, murder was the case that they gave me.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
So murder was the candy cane they gave me?
I'm still figuring out where the connection goes.
Krampus was the case that they gave me.
Krampus was the case that they gave me.
So he has this sort of
herpes.
He has this moment of clarity where he kind of realizes that he's now in the present. He's not. I guess he was in a fantasy world up until that point where he thought he was fighting.
Psychotic break.
I think he snapped. Yeah, I think he just had it.
So the police are like, put down the what weapon did he have? What was he actually? Axe.
What was he?
He had a Santa. He had a big regular, wood axe. Put the axe down, Mr. Claw. Whatever. And
Norman
he doesn't. So they drill him.
Yeah.
Repeatedly. I mean, a lot.
It took a couple of shots to get him down. I was on the cop side on that one.
He had Christmas Kevlar or a hell of a will.
Yeah.
He would not go down.
But he did.
That's all the stories.
That's the movie, yeah. So I thought that it seemed like the people that wrote this wanted that to be the main storyline, or like one of them, but it wasn't enough to hang a whole movie on. So they felt like they could make it an anthology and fill it out, maybe.
Yeah, I was confused throughout because I was like, now, did they script it so that they were all intermingled? All the first acts are happening at the same time, all the second acts, and then all the third acts? Or did they write it out so that I felt like the order we just reviewed it in was like the order that it probably would have been in if they were just segmented out?
Yeah.
I wonder if someone was like, this is boring. Because I thought William Shatner was going to be like in the middle of each one. He goes, okay, now here's a Christmas song, and the Christmas song will get you into the story and then get you out of the story.
He's more like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, he's more like the Crypt Keeper.
In that version.
I wonder if it would have been more effective if we had seen the stories as a whole without the intercutting between them. I feel like it would have.
Well, it was confusing because I thought they were actually related. And they were only related in the sense that there were participants from the same town, but the stories were interdependent of the other.
Yes.
But I thought there was going to be some conclusion at the end. And I guess Krampus was connected, but really they were independent stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was nothing there was no connective tissue but drunk William Shatner.
Exactly. He wasn't drunk enough in my estimation.
Yeah. Well, he was probably drunk when he accepted the job.
Well, they played some outtakes or some extra stuff underneath the credits of William Shatner, and that was funnier than anything he said during the movie. And I really wanted there to be some more humor throughout, and I feel like he could have done that and and they put it in the credits instead of during the movie.
They should have had the director say, no, say the line like this. Oh, you want me to say the line like this? Well, no. I'll say it the way you want me to say it. Is that anybody? Have you heard
Sabotage.
Have you ever heard the Shatner when he's being directed in an ad? You've got to find it on YouTube. It is priceless. He just makes this guy feel this big.
Priceless or Priceline? So what was... Just real quickly, what do you think was the creepiest or the scariest story?
For me, it was the Changeling, hands down. I could not get more creeped out by anything in this movie. I mean, because it operated on different levels. It had a jump scare too. It had a creepy child that wasn't talking and doing weird things. And it had that weird Oedipus thing that I didn't like. I mean, even though it wasn't it wasn't really the kid, it was still something inhabiting the body of the kid, and I all that was just nasty.
I would say that the scariest one was the storyline of the Mary and the bloody baby, because that had some real honest horror scares. But I'm going to go with Stephanie for sheer creepiness, just child doing things to family members that just made me very uncomfortable watching.
Yeah, I like the Mary and the reporters and the guys in the basement the best, because I just couldn't the Changeling kid just it just skeeved me out so much. I can't recommend it at all.
Yeah, I think the Changeling kid skeeved me out the most. It was just so disturbing because even as a viewer, you weren't in on the fact that he changed until a little too late. And when you find that out, you're like, I'm still disgusted. I'm going to go take a shower now, and then I'll pick this movie up.
So all four of us were super creeped out by this thing. That's fantastic. So let's rate this thing. Our highest rating is the Cinema Craptaculus rating, which is, oh yeah. You got to jingle this jangle. The second would be Craptacular, which is ho okay. It's like leaving the family dinner just before Uncle Nick has his third mistletoe martini, and he starts opening up about his alt-right beliefs. Although I don't have an uncle that would do that. That's all you guys.
I have an Uncle Nick.
And the basement rating would be utter crap, which is, oh no. This is like getting socks or underwear for Christmas. So how would you guys rate this on that scale?
I give this Cinema Craptaculus. Oh yeah. Woo! Pull this out every Christmas. It knows what it is, which is a horror anthology movie. It did that well. It had scares. It had some funny things with Santa killing the elves. I'm all for it. And William Shatner, I thought was great in
Yes.
this. I was ready to suffer through that, but I liked it.
I would definitely say it was a Cinema Craptaculus rating. I would agree. It was just everything that you said, Dave, and super creepy on top of it. And William Shatner was hilarious.
I think we've got a triplicate. Ho, 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 jingle your jangle. I agree. I think that it did need more boobage. You know, we've had a lot of nudity.
Yeah, where was the nudity?
Gross.
But I think it hit all the kind of buckets that if you're into that title, you know, and there have been some horror films, and we reviewed Jack Frost, which, you know, hewed more on the comedy. But this one, I think it had the gore.
The effects.
The creepiness. Could have done a little bit without, you know, the Freudian stuff.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. You guys are asking for nudity. It would have shown up in that sequence. So just be careful what you wish for at Christmas.
No, Amanda Seyfried hiked up her skirt like 3 times, and you were like, no. They just really teased it. I hate to say it, but I'm craptacular. I'm right in the middle. Ho ho ho. Okay. I think I wanted.
Wait till you see some more of these, then you'll be like, let me go back.
Maybe I'm not as jaded as you guys, but I think the humor part was lost for me. Like, I just wanted there to be something funny, and in these sort of anthologies, even like Tales from the Crypt and that kind of thing, there has to be more humor, and I just didn't laugh enough or much at all, really. But it was really well done. I was kind of shocked at the quality of the filmmaking, and I thought the twist at the end was really good. So I'm on the fence, but I wanted it to be funnier.
The opening credits were very good. There was this sort of digital, graphic treatment of snowflakes, and I'm like, that looked well done and pricey.
And then the creepy turn of the song, Here Come the Bells, or Carol of the Bells.
And like there was like blood on the snowflakes.
Here come the bells. Sorry.
So many bells, keep ringing bells.
I don't know if that's the lyrics.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Dave, I really want to take you to task, though, for saying this is one you can bring out every Christmas. Do you mean that?
Maybe every other Christmas. I can see me watching this again.
So if you had to find an ironic title other than Christmas Horror Story, I would say...
You know what I'd call it? Billy Schatz in the Christmas of Blood.
Craig?
I don't think I can follow that.
I thought it would be like something like 4 calling birds, 3 French Canadians.
I was going to say, Mama, it's cold outside. It's time for bed, Junior. But Mama, it's cold outside.
Gross.
What's in my drink, son? It's cold outside.
An early peek into Bill Cosby's childhood.
Stephanie's like, why were you looking at me while you did that bit? You're sick. Well, Bloody Christmas is a famous horror film from the 70s. And I think
Red Christmas, I don't know.
You proposed that.
Did I?
Christmas.
I know I had a lot of Christmas sleigh.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Christmas Sleigh is such a good title.
Yeah.
I think to usher in Craig, I think we need to assign him the task of doing his own podcast where he just watches Christmas Sleigh and reviews it. like hazing.
That's cruel. That's
he has
cruel.
to do it every Christmas. Thanks for joining us on the Cinema Craptaculus journey. This is Stephanie, and ever present with me are
John,
Dave,
and Craig.
Newly added.
Woohoo! Remember, a bad film is just as hard to make as a good one. It's just a lot easier to make fun of.
Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho! Now I'm going to kill you.
You're a really good Santa.
Hey, Craptaculars! The holidays are here. And what better gift for your friends and loved ones than giving them the gift of Cinema Craptaculus? Hey, it's free, and all you have to do is tell them to go to their favorite podcast platform and subscribe to Cinema Craptaculus. It's the gift that keeps on giving. With one subscription, Cinema Craptaculus provides you with a brand new show each week. There's the B-sides, the real debates, Terror Tunnel, the expanded universe, and of course, Cinema Craptaculus. And follow @Craptaculus on all the socials. We couldn't do these shows without you, our loyal listeners, so thank you for helping us grow Cinema Craptaculus into this amazing family of shows. And speaking of family, you'd better chop on that gift shopping.